China in its grandeur. East Asian country is China, which is the largest. Its population is the biggest in the world. It holds almost the entire East Asian landmass. And its area is approximately 1/14 of the whole land area on Earth. Among the major countries of the world, China is surpassed in area by only Russia and Canada, and it is almost as large as the whole of Europe. All photos may not represent the story. Watch to become bilingual, as this video is especially made for English learners. Beijing is the capital. It is the center for culture, economy and communications. The other city, Shanghai, is the main industrial city. Hong Kong is the leading commercial center and port. China has the greatest contrast in temperature between its northern and southern borders of any country in the world. It is home to some of the world's most exotic animals. Vast areas of China are either uninhabited or sparsely populated. China stretches for about 5,250 kilometers from east to west and 5,500 kilometers from north to south. The country is bounded by Mongolia to the north, Russia and North Korea to the northeast, the Yellow Sea and the East China Sea to the east, the South China Sea to the southeast, Vietnam, Laos, Myanmar, India, Bhutan, and Nepal to the south, Pakistan to the southwest, and Afghanistan, Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, and Kazakhstan to the west. China also faces South Korea and Japan, across the Yellow Sea, and the Philippines, which lie beyond the South China Sea. China is prone to intense seismic activity throughout much of the country. Throughout its history, China has experienced hundreds of massive earthquakes killing millions of people. Two of the largest caused some 250,000 deaths each. China's constitution states that the People's Republic of China is a socialist state under the People's Democratic Dictatorship led by the working class and based on the alliance of workers and peasants. The Chinese government has been variously described as communist and socialist, but also as authoritarian and corporatist, with heavy restrictions in many areas, most notably against free access to the internet, freedom of the press, freedom of assembly, the right to have children, free formation of social organizations and freedom of religion. Its current political, ideological and economic system has been termed by its leaders as the People's Democratic Dictatorship, socialism with Chinese characteristics, which is Marxism adapted to Chinese circumstances, and the socialist market economy, respectively. China's constitution declares that the country is ruled under the leadership of the Communist Party of China, CPC. As China is a de facto one-party state, the General Secretary, party leader, holds ultimate power and authority over state and government, serving as the paramount leader. The electoral system is pyramidal. Local people's congresses are directly elected, and higher levels of people's congresses up to the National People's Congress are indirectly elected by the People's Congress. The political system is decentralized, and provincial and sub-provincial leaders have a significant amount of autonomy. The president is the titular head of state, elected by the National People's Congress. The premier is the head of government, presiding over the state council composed of 4 vice premiers and the heads of ministries and commissions. The incumbent president is Xi Jinping, who is also the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China and the chairman of the Central Military Commission, making him China's paramount leader. The incumbent premier is Li Keqiang, who is also a senior member of the CPC Politburo Standing Committee, China's de facto top decision-making body. Political concerns in China include the growing gap between rich and poor and government corruption. Nonetheless, the level of public support for the government and its management of the nation is high, with 80 to 95% of Chinese citizens expressing satisfaction with the central government, according to a 2011 survey. The PRC has diplomatic relations with 175 countries and maintains embassies in 162. Its legitimacy is disputed by the Republic of China and a few other countries. It is thus the largest and most populous state with limited recognition. In 1971, the PRC replaced the Republic of China as the sole representative of China in the United Nations and as one of the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council. China was also a former member and leader of the non-aligned movement, and still considers itself an advocate for developing countries. Along with Brazil, Russia, India and South Africa, China is a member of the BRICS group of emerging major economies and hosted the group's third official summit at Sanya, Hainan in April 2011. Much of current Chinese foreign policy is reportedly based on Premier Zhou Enlai's 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, and is also driven by the concept of harmony without uniformity, which encourages diplomatic relations between states despite ideological differences. This policy may have led China to support states that are regarded as dangerous or repressive by Western nations, such as Zimbabwe, North Korea and Iran. China has a close economic and military relationship with Russia, and the two states often vote in unison in the UN Security Council. There are as many as 292 living languages in China. The languages most commonly spoken belong to the Sinitic branch of the Sino-Tibetan language family, which contains Mandarin, spoken by 70% of the population, and other varieties of Chinese language, Yue, including Cantonese and Taishanese, Wu, including Shanghainese and Suzhounese, Min, including Fujianese, Hokkien and Teochew, Xiang, Gan and Hakka. Languages of the Tibeto-Burman branch, including Tibetan, Qiang, Naxi and Yi, are spoken across the Tibetan and Yunnan-Guizhou plateau. Other ethnic minority languages in southwest China include Zhuang, Tai, Dong and Sui of the Tai-Kadai family, Miao and Yao of the Hmong-Mien family, and Wa of the Austroasiatic family. Across northeastern and northwestern China, local ethnic groups speak Altaic languages including Manchu, Mongolian and several Turkic languages, Uyghur, Kazakh, Kyrgyz, Salar and Western Yugur. Korean is spoken natively along the border with North Korea. Sarakoli, the language of Tajiks in western Xinjiang, is an Indo-European language. Taiwanese Aborigines, including a small population on the mainland, speak Austronesian languages. Standard Mandarin, a variety of Mandarin based on the Beijing dialect, is the official national language of China and is used as a lingua franca in the country between people of different linguistic backgrounds. Chinese characters have been used as the written script for the Sinitic languages for thousands of years. They allow speakers of mutually unintelligible Chinese varieties to communicate with each other through writing. In 1956, the government introduced simplified characters, which have supplanted the older traditional characters in mainland China. Chinese characters are romanized using the pinyin system. Tibetan uses an alphabet based on an Indic script. Uyghur is most commonly written in Persian alphabet-based Uyghur Arabic alphabet. The Mongolian script used in China and the Manchu script are both derived from the Old Uyghur alphabet. Zhuang uses both an official Latin alphabet script and a traditional Chinese character script. China has urbanized significantly in recent decades. The percent of the country's population living in urban areas increased from 20% in 1980 to over 55% in 2016. It is estimated that China's urban population will reach 1 billion by 2030, potentially equivalent to 1/8 of the world population. As of 2012, there are more than 262 million migrant workers in China, mostly rural migrants seeking work in cities. China has over 160 cities with a population of over 1 million, including the 7 megacities, cities with a population of over 10 million, of Chongqing, Shanghai, Beijing, Guangzhou, Tianjin, Shenzhen, and Wuhan. By 2025, it is estimated that the country will be home to 221 cities with over 1 million inhabitants. The figures in the table below are from the 2010 census, and are only estimates of the urban populations within administrative city limits. A different ranking exists when considering the total municipal populations, which includes suburban and rural populations. The large, floating populations of migrant workers make conducting censuses in urban areas difficult. The figures below include only long-term residents. Since 1986, compulsory education in China comprises primary and junior secondary school, which together last for 9 years. In 2010, about 82.5% of students continued their education at a 3-year senior secondary school. The Gaokao, China's national university entrance exam, is a prerequisite for entrance into most higher education institutions. In 2010, 27% of secondary school graduates are enrolled in higher education. This number increased significantly over the last years, reaching a tertiary school enrollment of 48.4% in 2016. Vocational education is available to students at the secondary and tertiary level. In February 2006, the government pledged to provide completely free 9-year education, including textbooks and fees. Annual education investment went from less than $50 billion in 2003 to more than $250 billion in 2011. As of 2010, 94% of the population over age 15 are literate. In 1949, only 20% of the population could read, compared to 65.5% 30 years later. In 2009, Chinese students from Shanghai achieved the world's best results in mathematics, science and literacy, as tested by the Programme for International Student Assessment (PISA), a worldwide evaluation of 15-year-old school pupils' scholastic performance. Despite the high results, Chinese education has also faced both native and international criticism for its emphasis on rote memorization and its gap in quality from rural to urban areas. Source: Wikipedia. Please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.